Hi, I'm Alice Marples and welcome to my tutorial on the Chinese method of multiplication. So I chose to do my tutorial on this topic because I believe and I know that multiplication is so important in maths, and we use it in everyday life right through into adulthood too. And sometimes we're multiplying without even realising we're doing it because we just have to do it all the time. It almost comes as a second nature. But that's when we've got smaller numbers. But when we get into multiplying bigger numbers, that's where it can get a little bit tricky. So I'm going to teach you today how to do the Chinese method of multiplication. Now, you might have learnt a few other methods at school, or you might have learnt this one at school, or wherever with another tutor. You might have heard of this before, but I think it's so important to try out new methods and see which one works best for you. So you might have tried long multiplication before, and lots of different methods. So I'm going to teach you a new one today and see how you like it, how you get on with it. So as I said, obviously when you've got something like 3 times 2, you'll automatically go, well, it's 6. So, but when we get something like 32, let me go into my pen, 32 multiplied by 86, there's less of a, I know that off the top of my head, this is a lot harder. So we know our multiplication, our times tables, probably up to 12 times 12 off by heart, which will really help you with this method as well. But when we get to larger multiplication, it does get a lot harder. So, how we set up the Chinese method of multiplication is we're going to write down our first number. So we've got 32. I like to space it out a little bit, give us lots of space. And then we've got our 86, we're going to do it down the side here, okay? So we're going to have our 80 and our 6, okay? So now we have 32 and 86. So we've got one going across and one going down. So what we're going to do now is from each of our numbers, we're going to draw a big box like this. So all our numbers are lining up with a line. Okay, so now we have one big box and our numbers. What we're going to do now is put a line between each of our numbers. So we've got 3 and a 2, so we're going to put a line between those two numbers. And we've got our 8 and our 6, so we're going to put a line between those two numbers. So now we've got 4 mini boxes. So in the next step is in each of our little mini boxes, we're going to do a line from the top right corner to the bottom left. 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 Okay, so now we've set up our method. I think probably with this method, the hardest bit is just setting up what we've just done there, making sure that we've got all the right lines in the right places. But as long as you remember that you have a line between each of your numbers, you'll be absolutely fine. Obviously, practice takes perfect too. So that will be in your homework as well. So, amazing. So now we have our 4 boxes that have been cut in half. So, in this top right box here, we're going to look at the number that's above it and the number that's to the right. So we've got a 2 and an 8, and we're going to multiply these. So 2 times 8 is 16, so we put 16. So we've got our tens and our units here. So our tens and our units. So we've done that box. We're going to move on to this bottom right box here. So we look at the number above, which is a 2, and to the right, which is a 6. So we're going to do 2 times 6, which is 12. So we've got our 1, our tens, 2 units. So in our top left box, we've got above it a 3, and to the side of it an 8. So we're going to do 3 times 8, which is 24. Wonderful. Okay, now in our bottom left box, final one, the number that is above is a 3, and then the number to the right is a 6. So 3 times 6 is 18. So we've now got all of our boxes filled in. So now what we need to do is look at our columns here, our diagonal columns, and we're going to add them up. Okay, so this is our final step. So if we look at our first column, if I just highlight it here. So this is our first column here. I've just put that little line there just to show you. So we only have one number in that column. It is just a 2. So 2 add nothing is 2. Easy, nice start. Okay, so now we move on to our second column. So if I change the colour again, go for a grey, we're looking at between this line and this line. So we've got an 8, a 1 and a 6 in this. So we've got 6, add 1, 7, add 8 is 15. So we're going to put 5 down here. So when our numbers, when adding them up, when it goes over 10, we have to carry our 10s. Like your column method for addition, we have to carry our 10s over to the next one. So because it's 15, we're going to carry that 1 over, okay? So now we're going to be looking at our next column, which is here, between the 2 red lines. So we've got 1, add 4, add 1, and then our 1 here as well, which is 7. So now we've used that, we can just cross that one out. We've used the 10. Okay, and then we've got our final one, our final column, which is between the pink, which is just a 2. So now we have our answer here. So the answer to 32 times 86 is 2,752. Amazing. That is it. That is the Chinese method of multiplication. So let's go on to another example. Just clear the board here. Perfect, here we are. So we've got our brand new page and we're going to go for a bit of a harder one this time. We're going to go for 867 multiplied by 38. Okay, so the slight difference is here, we now have 3 numbers times by 2, but it doesn't change. We just start off, as we always do, writing our numbers. So we've got 8, 6 and 7, and then we've got 38 down the side here. So, as we did before, we now draw our box. We then draw a line between the 3 and the 8, line between the 8 and the 6, line between the 8 and the 7, and then in each of our boxes here, we then draw a line from the top right corner to the bottom left, like so. So now we're going to do our multiplying in each of the boxes. So in our top right box, we've got a 7 above and a 3 to the side, so we're doing 7 times 3, so 21. Here we're doing 6 times 3, so 18. We've got 8 times 3, so it is 24. Then we've got on our bottom left 8 times 8, which is of course 64. And then 6 times 8, which is 48. And then 7 times 8, which is 56. Okay, wonderful. So now we're going to our adding. So in our first column, we've got our 6. The second column, we've got 8, add 5, add 1, so that is 14. We carry over our 10, or our 1 in this case. So we've got 8, add 2, add 4, add 4, add 1, so that is 19. And then we're going to carry our 1 over. And then we've got 6, add 4, add 1, add 1, so that is 12. We carry over our 1 again. And then we've got 2, add 1, which is 3. So the answer to this question is 32,000, excuse my small writing, 946. So that's just a little whistle-stop tour on how to do the Chinese method of multiplication. If this was a tutoring session, I would then go on to show the students how to continue how to work on these and practicing them and how to do it when it's 3 numbers times by 3 numbers, and so on. And then how to do the multiplication when decimals are involved as well. But this is the core kind of basics and how to do the Chinese method of multiplication. With my students as well, as homework, what I normally do, just to keep them up to date with all of their multiplication skills, as you can see on the left hand side, there is a multiplication grid challenge. So I'd encourage them to do this once a week. Fill it out, time themselves, see how long it takes them to fill out, working out their multiplication, and then hopefully as well that will help them to build their confidence, because as the weeks will go by and they practice more and more, their time will decrease, so it's increasing their confidence in multiplication. And also it's so important in the exam to be able to quickly do your multiplications, your times tables off the top of your head, especially with the Chinese method of multiplication too. For students that are struggling with the top one, as this one here is randomised, there is a slightly easier version that I've made too, which is non-randomised, so they can always start at the easier version and then work their way up. Thank you very much for watching my tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed. Have a lovely day.